What things bring you happiness in life? Is it the beaming face of your child or grandchild? Does that do it for you? Gail said, oh yeah. A nice pay raise, thoughts of retirement. Is that what brings a smile to your face? What about getting a break in life? Would finally getting a break in life be something that bring you great happiness? A jury in Louisville, Kentucky convicted a man of 5 counts of robbery and kidnapping. And they sentenced him to 5,000 years in prison. 5,000 years in prison. Well, Judge Edmund Pete Karam said, you know, that's a bit excessive. You guys have really gone over the top on this. So he reduced the sentence. I mean, this guy's getting a break. The judge reduced it to 1,000 years. When you think about it, with good behavior, this guy's going to be out on the street 600 years. Do you ever feel like you maybe need a break? That give you a lot of happiness in life. Last week we began our sermon series titled, Happy, Happy, Happy. And we were talking last week about living the life God intends. And that's a life of joy, a life of embracing the things that He has given us here on earth to be celebrated. And today we're going to take a little bit of a different look at that. You see, God not only wants us to be happy, but He wants us to have victory over tragedy. And we can look around, the family you're talking about in Texas. You know, they're looking at their lives and they've had a tragedy. The loss of a 15-year-old daughter. You know, that's tough. It's a challenge. And they're not the only family who's ever dealt with something like that. The day-to-day existence that mankind has, it's a wide-ranging spectrum of experiences and events that we go through. Now, some of these are quickly forgotten. It's just like yesterday's mail. It's sort of history. But others are just burned into our memory. They are seared there, and we will never, ever forget that. Some of those are tough. They're tragedies. They brand themselves indelibly into our lives and our history. They become part of the woven tapestry of your life. Some experiences are incredibly delightful and joyous. The day you got your first kiss. The day you got your first car. The day you got your first job. Maybe the day you were married. Now, for some people, that's not necessarily a day they look back on fondly. Felix Frankfurter was a Supreme Court justice from 1939 until 1962. And once a friend asked him to officiate their wedding. And Justice Frankfurter said, I cannot do that. And the friend said, what? A Supreme Court justice can't officiate a wedding? Why not? And Justice Frankfurter said, I guess because marriage isn't a federal offense. But some of you think it should have been a federal offense. The day you became a parent, the day you became a grandparent. I can see the smiles on your face right now as you think about those days. You see, those are the threads that are interwoven into our life. Moments of happiness, days, perhaps months or even years of happiness that we experienced. But some of those we recall distinctly. Events that were very different because of the pain that was associated with those. They involved a tragedy. And we all know tragedies. A tragedy is defined as a disastrous event, a calamity, a misfortune. But yet we think of the word tragedy, and misfortune doesn't seem to really do justice to the word, to the concept that we have for tragedy. The United States of America has suffered numerous tragedies in our really comparatively brief history. We think about the Galveston hurricane that hit in 1900. Between 6,000 and 12,000 people were lost. Still the deadliest natural disaster in terms of life that was lost. Hurricane Katrina, over $84 billion in damage. The costliest tragedy, natural disaster we've had in terms of financial cost. The attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon and in Pennsylvania in 2000. The crash of the aircraft carrying 248 members of the 101st Airborne Division, Fort Campbell, on December 12, 1985. Or the crash of the charter airplane carrying the Marshall University football team in 1970. You see, we have tragedies, and some of them, they affect us for long, long periods of time. Others we hear about, but I didn't know anyone. I wasn't in the military. I never lived near Marshall University, so it doesn't affect us in the same way it does other people. Tragedies come and they wear numerous faces. Tragedies may come wearing the face of an environmental event, hurricane, earthquake, lightning-ignited fire. They may come wearing the face of an accident, the face of war, the face of murder. We think of events like Virginia Tech, Columbine, and Sandy Hook. Tragedy wears many faces. Tragedy can also happen in our personal lives. And as Christians, we have a choice about how we're going to face and deal with the tragedies, with those events. We're hurting. We feel the pain that's going on right then. And sometimes we feel like no one has ever experienced the pain that I have right now. The reality is, mankind has experienced pain since the fall in the garden. Sin led to our pain. We think, and we've heard the questions, when one of these horrific events happens and it's across the news, and there are the people who question God's existence, who deny it. And they say, how could a God allow something like this to happen? How could a loving God allow children to be murdered? As to say, there is no God. There is no love in this person you call God. But when we have those questions posed to us, we know where to find the answers. They're tough questions, but the answers are here. We're going to look at just a few brief passages this morning. John 16:33. Jesus is speaking. Jesus is talking to the disciples. Jesus said, I've told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble. But take heart, I have overcome the world. I'm bringing you peace. You're going to have trouble. You're going to have difficulties. Folks, get ready for it, Jesus is saying. It's going to happen to you, and you, and you, and you. It's going to happen. And we think, oh, I'm a Christian. I should be immune from that. I should live a painless life. And Jesus says, no. No. In fact, because you know me, you'll probably experience more pain. Can you deal with it? Or can you drink from my cup? That's what he asked the apostles. And we have to be willing to do that. You see, God tells us that pain will be a part of our life. Lamentations 3:38. Is it not from the mouth of the Most High that both calamities and good things come? Not just the great things, not just the joyful things that we remember, but also the calamities. And God gives them to us for a purpose, His purpose. We often don't understand until later. Maybe much later. Isaiah 45, verse 7. I form the light and create darkness. I bring prosperity and create disaster. I, the Lord, do all these things. He creates disaster. Father, our lives have been disasters because we didn't know you. But you helped us find our way out of the personal wilderness that we were dealing with. We're grateful that Jesus said, I came that you might have peace because your world's going to be filled with trouble. Thank you for caring that much for mankind, that you give us an eternal balm, a solution to the problems that this world brings. But Father, today, in the message, help us understand and learn to appreciate the tragedies of our lives, the tragedies that you have allowed to take place in our existence. And Father, help us understand that we can look to you and say, thank you. In the midst of our pain, in the midst of our hurt, we can say, thank you, God. Lord, today be with James. Bless this message. Bless our hearts through the words you have given him. We love you, God. Oh, how we love you. In the name of our Savior, your Son, Jesus, we pray. Amen. I'd like for you to meet today my friend, Dr. James Perdue. James is a man who knows tragedy firsthand in a fashion that you and I don't. And James has agreed to come and share his story and how God has worked in his life to create this story. And how we, as people of God, can overcome the tragedies. James, bless us, my friend.
Thank you, New Life Church, for being here. Let me put you in a situation momentarily. Not that I would wish anybody to be in a wheelchair, but let's just say you're in a wheelchair for the next few moments. And let's just say one morning you're getting out of bed and you're transferring from your bed to your chair, and then your chair that day has a mind of its own. When you're trying to transfer, the chair goes one way and you go sack of potatoes on the ground. What do you do? As you're contemplating that, let me tell you, as I was growing up, I was one of them that wanted to grow up and play baseball. I wanted to be a professional athlete. I enjoyed the sport. And that's all I wanted to do. I was not the academic advanced person in school at that time, but I did just enough to keep my grades up so I could stay eligible to play sports. I was fortunate enough to get MVP of my team my junior and senior year and receive a college scholarship. I did have a few pro teams looking at me, so my aspiration was coming true as I was getting older. I was in college for 2 weeks, got to play one college game. I was the only freshman that started. The next day, a bunch of us got together playing football, the All-American game. We had no pads or equipment on. We were playing football. We were playing tackle football. We'd been out there about 2 hours, and I remember someone saying that we'd been out there 2 hours, and my team had got the ball back, and I said, hey, we've been out here a couple hours, I'm tired, and get the stuff ready for class, like I was going to pass class, you know, because I wasn't there for grades or anything, but I said, I got to get my stuff ready for class. And I walked out of the huddle. I got about 10 feet away, and I heard someone say, we need someone to run the ball. I stopped, turned back to everybody, and said, all right, I'll come back for one more play. Got to the huddle, designed a play for me to run the ball. Of course, back then I was a little bit more healthier than I am today. Back then. I handed the ball off to me. I bust through the line, saw someone in front of me. I did my Heisman Trophy Award move on him, pushing him off. Bust through the line up there, scored a touchdown. That's what I like. Woo! That's what I like. Turn towards everybody. And as I'm turning towards everyone, I'm putting the ball down because I already scored a touchdown, right? The play's over. Put the ball down, and in my peripheral vision, I see something. I don't know what it is, but I see something. I feel contact up high. Then I hear this loud pop. I go to the ground. This guy gets up and down, he's hollering, hey, I tackled him. He's all excited about tackling. I scored a touchdown, he's very excited about tackling after the play. At that time, of course, I thought I was invincible. Nothing was going to happen to me. Nothing's going to be to stop me from getting what I wanted to do, be a professional athlete. The pop I heard, I thought was my clavicle or collarbone. I thought it broke. But I figured since being invincible and strong as I was, I'd fight the guy one-handed. I lift my head to get up. That's all it came. My shoulders didn't come up. My arms didn't come up. Didn't even wiggle a toe. Put my head back down. Took a deep breath. Tried again. Head come up. Nothing followed. Then one bright guy on my team, he says, "But does the touchdown still count?" No one knows that I'm paralyzed at this time. And I said, "Oh man, I'm really looking up now." Tried again, third time. Put my head down. Then I realized I was paralyzed instantly. From here down, I couldn't move anything. There was one guy that was at school there. He was going to be a paramedic. He's all directing traffic. Go get blankets. Go get my stethoscopes. Go get my blood pressure. Someone called 911. Boy, he was directing traffic. He was all over the place. He was there to take care of me. By the time they got me to the hospital, they did their tests and we run x-rays. And the doctors told me that I was paralyzed. I'll never walk again, possibly not move from my neck down. I said, "Well, Doc, that's pretty bad, isn't it?" He says, "Yeah." So I started thinking then, what am I to do with my life? What's the purpose of this? How can I do anything if I can't move from my neck down? I started thinking about a fellow I met when I was 12 years old. His name was JT. I met JT when I would visit my grandfather in the nursing home. JT was in his mid-20s. He was paralyzed from his neck down and was in a nursing home. And the doctors advised my family to put me in a nursing home. I'd be too much of a burden to provide care for. I started thinking, boy, a nursing home at the age of 19, that's going to be a long life. Of course, maybe not so long. I may die way before then. Who knows? Fortunately, my family was type of family, and with me being invincible, or thought I was at that time again, we did not accept the fate of going to a nursing home. My family brought me home. We did our own physical therapy, stuff that who thought of whatever. You know, here, let's try this one day. Can't do that? Oh, well, then don't do that. Let's try this. Oh, you can do that? Well, let's get that one muscle stronger. Then maybe we'll get a different muscle stronger. By the time it was over with, about a year and a half, my family, which was told to put me in a nursing home, I'd never walk again, had built up enough strength in my legs and in my body, I could stand on my own. Made a liar out of the doctor for 10 minutes. That's all I could do was 10 minutes, but it was the best 10 minutes of my life when I stand up. Then I decided, you know, to go be in a wheelchair, to have a successful life, I guess I better do that academic stuff and really get a degree. And my brother, my oldest brother, he gave us some wise wisdom. You know, he did the older folks that used to give us the wise wisdom. He's only 11 months older than me, but he gave us some wise wisdom. He says, you know, the determination, the desire, everything that you put forth in playing baseball, you need to direct it towards your education now. Boy, I sure wish I'd have done that in high school because it would have made things a lot easier. I ended up getting my associate's degree from Ball State. I remember taking this one test. I studied 4 days for this one test. Just for this one test, 4 days. Now, when I say study, I mean I memorized everything word for word, right? I couldn't tell you anything what it was about anymore, but I memorized 20 pages so I could take this test. I met this girl the day before the test. She says, "Oh, I studied about an hour before." I said, "Good luck to you, because I got 4 days of this stuff in." She got her test back. She made a 90. She studied an hour before. I studied 4 days. Got a 94. 94. See what those 4 extra days did for me? I got 4 extra points. Woo! I was all excited. So I ended up going to MTSU then and got my bachelor's degree. After that, took a few years because some people think that people in wheelchairs can't do certain things, but it took 3 years to find a teaching position where someone would accept me as a teacher, an educator, in my wheelchair. But I kept pursuing after that. Before I got that position, though, I went back and got a master's degree. Well, this education stuff gets pretty easy once you know what you're doing. I ended up teaching 15 years and coaching our girls' basketball team. Now, I don't know. When I first started basketball, the only thing I knew about it is if you slap someone too hard, there was a foul, and you put the ball in the bucket, you got points. Other than that, I had no idea. But the guy that was the head coach at that time, he and I went to school together in high school. We played on the baseball team together, so I went up to him and asked him, said, "Hey, I don't want to be part of the school. Is there anything good, I can help you with?" So I got to be the conditioning coach. A fat man in a wheelchair telling someone else you need to run more so you can be better conditioned. It's what's called, it's a do as I say, not as I do. So after 2 years, he said, working with him, he says, "Hey, the team is yours next year." I said, He said, "Yeah, I'm moving on. I got some other things I got to do. My kids are growing up. I want to spend more time with them." He said, "It's yours." I said, "What?" I said, "Well, I guess I better start learning about this basketball stuff more like it." And I met another fellow at school where we work at and become real good friends with him. And him and I, we co-coached together for a long time, 7 years, co-coached. No head coach, no assistant coach. We trusted what we were doing together. And he had probably about this much more on basketball than I did. After our first year, we finished second to the last, which when I was with the other team, with the other guy, we finished tied for in first place the first year and won the championship the second year. And then we went to second to the bottom once he left. I thought, oh boy, they're going to run me out of town here. Well, the good thing about middle school, they don't care much about basketball and sports and stuff. I mean, the athletes do, but the other people, they're going to, if the high school would train to scholarships, that's when you have to watch out. So fortunately, Rick and I decided, yeah, let's go to some basketball camps. Let's start doing some stuff. And then after that, we ended up being our own Pat Summits of Sumner County. We dominated that area 12 out of 15 years, neither co-champions or champions. For the next 12 out of 15 years, winning one state championship. So here's a guy in a wheelchair with a state championship as part of his credentials now. During that time, the church that I was going to at that time, they were planning on going to Africa. Not quite Africa, but over in between Africa and Madagascar. There's 4 little islands called the Comora Islands. And they were going over there, and part of their mission was to help the disabled person. And I thought, hey, I'm disabled. Maybe I can be a leader of some sort to help these people. Because over in that area, if you're disabled, you don't come out in the community much. If you're not doing something to be productive in society, you're not helping the community, you're not encouraged to get out. So I went over there, and we used basketball as part of our statements to meet people. So I coached our girls team. And internationally, I'm undefeated. Now, you have to have good athletes, so it's not the coaching all the time, but it's got to have good athletes to be able to perform. You're not going to win the Kentucky Derby riding a mule. So you got to have good thoroughbreds to be able to compete. So fortunately, I had good people. So I get to go over to Africa. On the way back, started meeting some people, talking to some people, and when I first got there, they wouldn't even talk to me because being disabled. I had nothing to offer to them. But after winning a few games and undefeated, then they felt that maybe this guy had something. So they started talking to me. And before it was over with, I had brought with me 12 wheelchairs that were donated to give to the community. And before I left, there was other people that were presenting those chairs to, so it made me feel good that something was happening over the other side of the world. Then life takes place again. When you lose your independence the first time, it's hard. But when you work so hard to gain it back over all these years, and you lose it the second time, and that's what happened, I lost strength. I got where I can't stand up anymore. I need someone to help pull my pants up for me in the mornings now. I need someone to help me in bed. I can get out of bed. My bed's high enough I can get out of bed, but I need someone to help me in bed at night now. It started feeling like a burden. I'd worked 23 years to stay independent. And then depression set in. So a year felt like a burden. Just wasn't good. My younger brother, he had some health issues towards later on in his life. And he was a mechanic. He was told not to pick up anything heavy. He had a bleeding ulcer, had a hernia. I said, don't pick up anything heavy with you working on your automobiles. You'll be all right. One night I couldn't get into bed. He come to help me in bed. That same night he died. I felt responsible for his death. You know, I worked depressed a year for feeling like a burden, and now my brother's died because he was told not to pick up anything heavy. He helped me in bed. He died that same night. A few months later, I tried to commit suicide. Woke up in a hyperbaric chamber where I took in carbon monoxide in my van for hours. Woke up in a hyperbaric chamber, forcing oxygen into my body. And I'm alive again. I tried for 3 days to kill myself. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Obviously, I'm here. God has a plan for me. Do I know this plan still? I don't have the whole thing, but for some reason, there's a plan. And I'm hoping my plan is to be here to inspire other people, to motivate other people. Life is worth living out there. Life would make you happy, happy, happy when everything's going great, great, great. But what do you do when you're down, down, down? Hope and happy comes in many different forms. The scenario I put you into earlier, what do you do when you're on the floor? I was 3 feet away from the phone to call for help to someone to get to me, to help me off the floor. The position I felt, I couldn't get to the phone. So I drugged myself from my bedroom to my living room to get to the phone in there, which is only 20, 25 feet away. It only took me 2.5 hours. Someone came and helped me up. It only took me 2.5 hours. Probably in a month's time, I had to call for paramedics 12 times, where I get half in my chair and couldn't go any further. Before I hit the floor, I'm calling them, or I do hit the floor and I'm calling them. Probably about 12 times in a month. Hope and happiness comes in different forms. I got a letter one day. I applied because I heard about these dogs that can help you. And I got this letter in the mail that says, and I'm in a hospital, remember, because I tried to commit suicide. And I got this letter coming in the mail that says, James, we've been trying to contact you. We've been emailing you. We've been calling you at home. There's no answer. We think we have a dog for you that can help you. Well, I'm in hospital, so I can't do anything now, right? I can't go down there. I get home. I finish the process of applying for this dog. Go to Orlando. And let me introduce you to my companion, my Siamese twin, my local celebrity, Ricardo. Come here, boy. Come here. Oh, woke you up, didn't I? Oh, come here, buddy. All right. Hey, come here. Get your leash. No, don't tell me no. Get your leash. Good boy. Now, come here. Bring here. Bring here. Good boy. Yeah. Woke you up now? Since having Ricardo, and I've had him now this August, be 3 years. Remember that month's time, 12 times had to call for paramedics to come help me? Because of having him, he has restored confidence in me, restored some independence in me. In August, I've had him 3 years, only one time I've had to call for help. So what brings me happy right now is Ricardo at the moment. Again, it comes in many different forms. Right? You see everybody out there? You see? Yeah, look at you. If I drop my keys, Ricardo will pick them up. If I drop my cell phone, he will pick it up. If I drop my piece of chicken, he'll pick it up. I won't get it back. When in bed, he can turn lights off and on. He can pull the drawers open, close the door, pull the doors open, close the door, cleans my plate for me every night. Now, I do rewash the plate. I wouldn't serve it to someone else. But if I did, no one would know it. They're clean. But I don't do that to anybody. Right, bro? Right? No. Ricardo, here's what we love. Ricardo's taught that to help me dress him, sometimes he has to get in my lap, don't you? Up. Yeah. And then I can help put his leash on and the collar on, and then we get some loving going on, don't you? Now, he's sometimes other people, for an elderly or a child, he may be too heavy to get in their lap, so he's taught to visit them. Ricardo, visit. Visit. No, visit. Yeah, he puts his hand in their lap to visit. Yeah, good boy. Good boy. That's right. Sit. Sit. So it's easy to become happy when nothing's going on. But what happens when tragedy happens depends on how you dictate it. God gives us all the determination. He gives us all the desires. He gives us all everything we need to succeed in life. It depends on how we use it to become successful or not. And last thing here, other thing that makes me happy is when I have my birthday. And I know y'all want to say this, go ahead and say it. When's your birthday? Just go ahead and say it.
Birthday.
It's not today, so y'all expect me to say today. But my birthday is June 4th, June 12th, July 11th, September 11th, and that fully new one, February 2nd. June 4th was the day I become saved. June 4th, 2001, saved as Lord Jesus, my Savior, received in my heart. June 12th is 64, is my mom physically grunted and said, "You're a beautiful bald baby boy." July 7th, my baptism came in when I was baptized and came out and new and created. September 11th, I had my 9/11 before the country did in 1983. That I was told I'd never walk again, and possibly I'd move from my neck down. That my new life of being in a wheelchair started then. As much as I hate being in a wheelchair, and I hate for my family suffering along with me, after looking back 30 years, kind of probably been the best thing for me. I wasn't a Christian at that time. I became a Christian. Went on and got a doctoral degree. Boy, whoever thought that? People I'm at high school, they're going, what? And we got our 30-year reunion coming this summer. And they're going to say, what? Wouldn't have got Ricardo. And again, I fully believe God's plan is now to get out and meet as many people as possible and try to be an encouragement and inspiration to them. Thank you.
Ricardo has a tag, a name tag. Tell them about Ricardo's tag, please.
We visit Walmart quite a bit. We do a lot of walking in there when it gets too hot and too cold. And so they have given Ricardo a Walmart name tag since we've been in enough. And they have strategically got areas where they'll give him treats. And of course he knows he's almost dragging me to all these areas when we go there. So he's become a great door opener for me to meet new people and find out things about Ricardo. And then it helps me explain them about me.
Amen.
So.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Dan, yes.
See, even in tragedy, God's working in our lives. And when this man will be here in front of us and say, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me, we could easily look at that and say, how can that be? Because God ordained it. God says, I've got a plan for you. There's a use for you. And you can't do this if you're a professional baseball player because there's nothing that you have overcome. There's nothing where I can help you. You need me. Oh, when we will admit that, when we will see our shortcomings, when we see how God even will put tragedy in our life, the pain. He talked about his family suffering with him. But when they see his spiritual growth, what a great reward that is. And what an encouragement it is, maybe to someone in his family who doesn't know Jesus.
Amen.
So yes, we can have victory over tragedy. And we simply have to look around and say, God, it's tough. It's hard right now. What I'm experiencing, maybe no one else I feel like has ever had that. God, you've got a plan. There's something that you want from this. So Lord, I want you to be glorified in this situation.
Amen.
We just want to be faithful. Look for the chance to be happy, even in the midst of the tragedy. The challenges, the trials, they're going to be there. From the time we're small through our latter years in life, we will have those. So just look for that opportunity to be happy, 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 and say, God, how are you working in this, and what do you want me to do?